When we cut hair with a clipper, everything always goes perfectly, almost all the time. Every once in a while we have a little oops. Oopses, you think they're scary? They're not so bad. We can fix them pretty quickly and pretty easily with a couple of tips and tricks. In this video, we're going to take a look at a couple of common clipper cutting oopses and the quick fixes to get you back on track and fix that haircut fast. The first on our list of common challenges or oopses is getting sideburns even. It's hard to do sometimes because there's one on each side and you can't necessarily see them both. Come out front and look at both sideburns. Determine which sideburn is shorter. The best we can do is match to the shorter sideburn. We can't match to the longer one. When you've determined that this one is shorter, then we're going to look at them both and pick a point of reference on the ear. Bottom of the ear, mid-ear, top of the ear. Note that reference and then take a look at the opposite side with your Buzz Barber clipper in the closed position. Match that sideburn to the other one, block the line and clean up beneath it, and then come around the front and check again. Two sideburns even, one on each side. Another frequent challenge is getting the neckline straight and even. And I cut this one crooked to demonstrate just how crooked some of them can be. Frequently this is a challenge, especially for right-handed hair cutters. Right-handed hair cutters tend to cut downhill towards the right-hand side, yielding a crooked neckline. The quick trick for preventing this or correcting it when you've done it is start in the center and work out to the sides. Instead of clipper cutting across the neckline from one side to the other, go to the middle. Cut in the middle, and then go out to one side, then go back to the middle, then go out to the other side, and out to the other side, and out to the other side, and out to the other side. That alternating back and forth from center out to the sides will help yield a straighter, cleaner, and smoother line. Another common oops can be an uneven bobbed haircut. These haircuts are great and they're very precise, and sometimes we can wander a little bit longer on one side. Typically, right-handed hair cutters will tend to cut longer towards the right, and you'll end up with a haircut that's a little asymmetric. Not because you wanted it to be fashionably, but because you had a little bit of an oops. Not a problem, easy to fix. The important thing to do is go in and subdivide the hair. Get rid of or eliminate, clip up some of the hair so you've got less hair to deal with here. Then when you go back in and you come in and you check the length, you can come in and check the length and you can make your corrections to even things out. And even your way back until you get to the hair at the back. Then you'll continue to drop down sections over the top of that section of hair, and you'll see the longer hair hanging out below it. You'll be able to come in and even out the haircut. So just go back into the haircut to a point where you weren't uneven and even it out. You'll continue that process, cutting through all of the interior until the haircut's even all the way around. Once we've gone back through that section, established a new guide, and brought sections down to it, the haircut's even all the way around. A quick fix for a simple and common oops. Another common oops is uneven or crooked bangs. Every young lady over the age of 5 has had crooked bangs, so it's not uncommon, but it's easy to fix. Go back to the center and identify where things went astray, comb them down with a piece of the bangs in your finger at the length you're after, and see the unevenness of what's going to come off, and we'll cut it through to check, and we'll cut it through to check, and we'll make sure that we're even all the way across. And that's how you even out uneven bangs. Another common oops in clipper cutting is a bad blend. We clipper cut the back and sides beneath the bottom portion of the haircut. We clipper cut the top, and in between, the two just don't blend all that well. It's an easy oops to fix, and there's two good ways to do it. Number one, snap-on attachment guides or guards. In this case, use a large guard, a longer guard, longer than you think you might need. You can always cut it shorter, but you can't put it back on. Use that longer guard to go over that oops area, that area that doesn't blend, and see how that improved the blend dramatically? It made a big difference. It softened out that transition between the short and the longer hair. But if that's not enough, tip number 2 is come in with your comb at an angle. come in at an angle like this. You look for the short hair in the leading edge of the comb and the longer hair above it. By holding the comb at an angle, you can see that step or that line as a triangle or a point sticking out of our comb. We then come in and we smooth it off against the comb. If you hold the comb horizontally like that and you cut across it, there's a tendency to put a new step in or to dig the existing hole a little bit deeper. And the number one rule when you're in a hole, stop digging. So when you see you've got that lip or that ledge or that ridge line of hair coming in at an angle like that, with the comb at an angle, swiping up your clipper along the comb does a beautiful job of smoothing and blending that off. And that's tip number 2 for fixing an oops blend. Another common oops is the divot in the back of the haircut. You were cutting or blending clipper over comb, you slipped off the comb, or your haircut moved slightly and oops, you slipped off and you bumped them with the clipper and you created a divot. Not a big problem, a problem we can fix. We're going to use snap-on attachment guides or guards. Use a longer guard than you think you need. You can always go shorter. So for instance, if you think a number 1 guard is going to do the trick, put a number 2 guard on and cut that area shorter with the 2 guard, making sure it blends into the area above it. Then go to the next shorter guard. In this case, now we go to the 1. Take your number 1 guard and cut over that area again with your 1, taking the area around the divot down and blending the divot away until you get a nice, smooth finish. You'd repeat the process on the other side, pretending you had a divot there, so the haircut would be even on both sides, left to right, as you smoothed off the divot and you shorten the other side to match it. We're not a whole lot shorter than we were, and it'll grow out quickly, and that's the way to fix that divot oops. The next oops we're going to talk about is not a common oops that happens when you're cutting someone's hair. It's the oops that happens when your son or daughter, when your small child, finds a hair cutting tool or a kitchen scissors or a work scissors around the house. Sometimes you spot the oops on the top of your child's head. And where do they cut? They cut right in the front because when they look in the mirror, that's what they can see. Sometimes instead of spotting the chunk, you find one of these on the floor in the kitchen, in the playroom, or in the bathroom. Now it's time to blend it in. It's not that scary and it's not that bad. What you're going to do is you're going to locate the oops, you're going to find that chunk, and here it is at the top of the head, and you're going to blend it into the surrounding hair. You've got that shorter hair, you're just going to go in and you're going to blend it in. You're going to lift up the hair and you're going to cut the longer hair to match the shorter piece, and you're going to cut all around it until little by little you manage to blend it in. Once it's all blended in, it'll look much better. It may take a little while to grow out, but you blended it in, so he'll look okay. We use snap-on attachment guide combs or guards to do lots of clipper cutting on lots of our short haircuts. Sometimes we're in a hurry. We grab a guard, we throw it on, and we cut, and we go, oops, that's shorter than I want it to go. I meant to use a number 4. I've got a number 2 on there. What do? Well, you're going to have to take the whole haircut short to that number 2. But the way to prevent that oops is to take your time and look and read. We call it the carpenter's rule when we cut hair. That's measure twice and cut once. Always double check. When we come now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut the entire nape area with that shorter guard, and then we'll blend in to the longer hair above. We'll use the blending techniques we've seen already, some of which involve using our comb, others of which involve using a longer snap-on attachment guide or guard. But we'll blend up into that longer hair, and for the purposes of fixing this oops, that lower portion of the haircut is just going to be a bit shorter. Another oops, and fortunately not a very common oops, cutting with a clipper guide or guard. We're coming up the head form and up the head form, and the guide comb falls off, and oops, we bump them. We dig a hole. That's a bad day clipper cutting, but it's nothing we can't fix. Go to a shorter snap-on attachment guide or guard. In this case, we go to a number 1 guard, and we'll attempt to blend that in with a number 1 guard. If the number 1 guard can catch and blend that length, I think it did, and I think we look okay, but if there's a little more of a mark, we need to go shorter. Take your guard off, Open your clipper up to the open lever position and come in with no guard, we sometimes call that freehand, and blend it just that little bit shorter. You know, the nice thing is, anybody who's short has been shorter yet. The difference between the clipper cut they were going to have and the clipper cut they now have to have, that might be no more than just an extra week or so. So blend it in smooth and you'll be okay. Taking good care of your Buzz Barber clipper is an important part of ensuring its long life, peak performance, and many happy haircuts. It's easy to do. You've got a tiny little clipper cleaning brush packed in with your clipper. Use that to brush off any hair clippings anywhere around the blade area. Tiny little bits and pieces of hair getting between the blades can dull the blade a little more quickly. So let's brush those off. Turn your clipper on. With your clipper on and your clipper running, 2 drops of oil directly down on the running teeth and 1 drop of oil at the inside rear corner of the moving blade. 3 drops, that's all. Leave it running long enough to set the bottle of oil down and pick up a clean towel. Shut off your clipper and blot up any excess oil anywhere around the blade area. Too much oil is just as bad as not enough oil because too much oil will attract dust, dirt, and hair clippings, and you mix that together, it'll gunk up the blade. So brush it, oil it, wipe it. It's ready to use. When you're done with a haircut, repeat the process, put it away, and it's ready for the next great Buzz Barber clipper haircut. I want to offer a special thank you to our mannequin friends who helped us share with you some, every once in a while, clipper cutting oopses. Oopses can happen, but with some great tips, tricks, and techniques, your Buzz Barber clipper will get you out of trouble and create fabulous haircuts every time. For more information on Buzz Barber, go to buzzbarber.com. That's our online resource for technical support and information for the world of Buzz Barber clipper cutting. Thanks for watching and have a great day.